Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Professor Moustafa Hassan. Professor Hassan is a public health professor with over 3 decades of experience in higher education. He assumed several academic roles in universities across the Middle East, including dean and vice chancellor positions. Currently, he is the vice chancellor of international cooperation at Hamadan bin Muhammad University in Dubai, the first accredited online university in the GCC region. Currently, he leads the efforts of a group of international experts to develop and implement a benchmarking framework for open and online higher education. The ICDE Executive Committee appointed Professor Hassan as the focal point for the Arab region on the quality of open, flexible, and distance education. Welcome, Professor Hassan.
Thank you, Matthew, and I'm very glad to share the experience of Hamdani Mohammed Smart University, the first online accredited university in the Middle East. We are going to talk today about our experience in establishing a framework for online universities, and I must say that everyone is aware about the different platforms that are there for online, for physical and face-to-face universities, but unfortunately ones that are very specific for online universities usually doesn't exist, and there were sporadic trials here and there, mainly regional effort in the European region, Asian, but I guess what I'm going to present as a practical experience from establishing a kind of a global platform for universities, which are mainly involved in online education. So if you allow me, let me share my screen and start by saying that today as I said, we are going to present the global implementation of the benchmarking framework. To reach the stage of a global implementation, I'll go very, very briefly through the development phases, because it's really important to, as a university, to show that we are following robust scientific methodologies for establishing such a framework. So today, very briefly, I know I have 25 minutes. I will be going very quickly, try to stick to the time, and will just let our colleagues and participants who are watching this presentation to briefly know a little bit about who is Hamdani Mohammed Smart University, and how did we establishment of the benchmarking framework and the journey we took. Then I will be presenting the global implementation results, and then how did we created sharing of best practices among online universities. Very quickly, Hamdani Mohammed, as I said, is the first accredited online university for online education in the Arab region. It was established in 2022. As the previous speaker rightly mentioned, the move to the online education was intensified during COVID-19. We actually started in 2002, and we started at this time when even the accrediting agencies in many countries did not have a clue about how can they accredit online programs. And so we worked with the accrediting bodies in different countries, especially in our country, in United Arab Emirates, to establish guidelines and standards for developing or for accrediting online programs. Definitely, when we started, we were using blended education because we have to have at that time a component of face-to-face. This blend evolved throughout the time until in 2016, we managed to proceed with our first fully online program. And let me just clarify one thing here. When we say fully online program, some people think that it's just only asynchronous or self-paced courses. All our program are actually a mix of self-paced as well as virtual lectures that are actually utilizing the same pedagogical principles that were just mentioned, like dividing the long lectures into self-contained bits. Each one has its own activity, a specific learning outcome, specific even after the lecture reading material and before the lecture reading material. So we are now having fully online programs, but these online programs are actually not self-paced, but just only 50% self-paced and 50% virtual lectures on time. The second slide about Hamdan bin Mohammed Smart University, which and the last one about Hamdan bin Mohammed Smart University, what we call HBMSU, is that we are actually focusing on lifelong learning rather than on just degree programs. So the degree programs is just only at the top of our pyramid. We are looking at our community development, and we provide a huge number of short courses as well as professional development programs. We were one of the UNESCO Educational Alliance during the COVID-19. We managed to provide training for teachers across the globe in 5 languages on how can they move to the online domain and become and prepare online courses to their students in different localities. This course, these several courses actually were offered in 5 languages, and they attracted around 350,000 teachers across the globe. So we took our community, service to a different level. And because of the technological backbone that we are using, allowed us being the whole university is actually on the cloud. We do not have any more servers in our facilities. So we could expand very rapidly in the face of COVID-19. Now, back to the benchmarking framework. So the benchmarking framework, the idea behind the benchmarking framework, if you ask anyone about what are the criteria for quality in traditional face-to-face, you will come up with main players who are assessing the face-to-face or traditional universities. But when it comes to online delivery, the question is a little bit tricky. What are the criteria for online universities? How can we assess the quality of online delivery? what are the dimensions that we should be looking at if a traditional university would like to move to the online domain? Is there any way that we can compare the performance of online providers so that we can learn from the variation among the online providers? And by looking into this, we actually came into the benchmarking framework. I will skip this journey at this stage and we'll come back to it. But the first stage came in February 2019, almost 1 year before the start of the COVID-19. And this is actually very important because we were proactive rather than reactive to what happened by COVID-19. We understand that in order to be able to improve the quality of online universities, we have to share our practices and be able to identify what are the best practices across the different dimensions so that we can ask ourselves as a group, what are the best practices of the best performers so that we can adopt them. And we were really lucky because we started with around 8 universities, and currently, as you can see on the screen, we have more than 25 universities and associations across the globe. Some of these associations and universities are spreading from New Zealand till Mexico, till the United States, Europe, Africa, Asia, and the list is very long. And we are actually happy that we partnered with the main partner of this initiative is the International Council for Open and Distance Education. This is the oldest entity for open and distance education. This is the main partner for this framework. You can imagine when we are working and taking expertise from all these associations, Commonwealth of Learning, European Association of Distance Teaching Universities, and many very well established entities. You can understand that when we draw expertise from these, we actually were very lucky to have a pool of expertise coming from all these areas. So back to the benchmarking framework journey. So actually, we started in February 2019. We established a technical committee from a very well established online, not conventional universities. The technical committee worked together during 2021. We come up with an initial framework that was tested in a pilot study and then refined. Then we went on February 22 with the global implementation, where 10 universities, some of them are huge universities like Open University of China, we implemented this and we finally got with the final report. So in the remaining minutes, I'll take you through this journey from the technical committee. The technical committee started by developing what are the dimensions and indicators that are relevant for online education. It's not a guessing matter. It's a very scientific thing that utilized the group consensus technique, one of the group consensus techniques like the Delphi techniques, because at that time COVID started and we were unable to meet. So we realized that we have to utilize our other methods. Then we came up with the initial framework, and the initial framework included 6 main dimensions: the teaching and learning dimension, the learner services, the technology environment, outcome and impact on society, diversity and inclusiveness, and organizational aspects. So if a university wants to move to the online domain, offering quality online programs, they need to fulfill these 6 dimensions. Under these 6 dimensions, there was collectively 39 indicators under each of these. Then the pilot implementation was conducted. When we piloted, we presented the pilot implementation in a report that was distributed for everyone. And the pilot implementation report was actually showed the success of the initial development with some refinement to the dimensions as well as to the indicators to make them easily measurable and to improve the reliability indicators and reliability scores for the different indicators. Then we went to the global implementation as of February 2020. Luckily, 10 universities implemented the benchmarking framework. As you can see, they spread as well from Europe to Mexico, to Asia, and to the Arab region. So 10 universities participated in the global implementation of the report. Before the implementation, we realized that this is collecting data for 37 indicators is going to be very time consuming. So we decided to we decided to go and develop a website, a special website that has 2 levels: level for the general public and another level for the participating universities, where we can maintain the confidentiality of the information and facilitate the data collection effort. So I will show some pictures from the website that is specifically developed for this purpose. Again, the 37 indicators were still belonging to the 6 identified dimensions and refined indicators. For each indicator, there was what we call information set. So each indicator, you have to identify what is the score based on a properly developed rubrics, and you identify the data sources where you brought your data from and the evidence. Because if we utilize self-scoring without evidence, then there might be some biases in that regard. And this is a screenshot from one of the indicators showing the different rubrics and evidence and data sources where universities should be identifying and selecting from these. And this indicator is about student engagement. As rightly said in the previous talk, there are certain aspects in the online education, like student engagement, that are very, very important. I'm not saying that student engagement is not important in the face-to-face media. However, it's much more important when the students are not in the classroom together. So you have to, so these 37 indicators that were developed are very much related to the online delivery. This is a screenshot for the rubrics, how to utilize, and this is a screenshot for the benchmarking framework website that is specifically developed. On the left side, this is a general view for the general public, while it's on the right side, This is a special view from the participating universities, where details about each indicator can be identified and compared. We also provide in this global implementation report, we provided data for each of the 10 universities alone, so that they can compare their performance over time and see how they can improve in the different different indicators. Also, we provided data to compare the performance of different indicators for each indicator. Out of this, we identified the best performers in different indicators, and our member area only have a space for sharing best practices, where we shared a lot of best practices among the 10 participating universities, so that I am learning from the Philippine Open University of their best practices when it comes to engagement, and they know more about my technological infrastructure. We had a lot of suggestions. This is not an end framework. This is an evolving framework. We plan to improve it after this global implementation. So there is a whole section about the suggestion for improvements. How can we overall improve the overall process? How can we improve the indicator specific, each indicator, how can it be improved? And also the process, even the website, how can we improve it? All this is included in the report for the global implementation. As I said, the best practices and their recommendations were extremely useful to participants together. We are actually the presidents of the 22 associations and the university just met last week, where we are going to in the next phase, where we are creating our governance, new governance structure for the benchmarking consortium. All this information is included in the global implementation report, with a lot of best practices that are not going to be useful, not just only for online universities, but for conventional universities that would like to move to the online domain. They need to fulfill, they can, rather than starting from scratch, they can learn from others who have been in this field for more than 20 and 25 years. And so all this will be very helpful for the online universities and associations, as well as for conventional universities. We also take this, and this is my last slide. We also take the sharing of best practices outside of the report itself, and started organizing webinars for sharing best practices regionally. So we identified what are the best practices identified by the Asian universities, and we organized the webinars, one webinar this time for Asian online universities, so that they, even if they are not participating in the benchmarking framework consortium, they still can learn what are the best practices from their the other universities, which is already in the online domain. This is a very quick presentation of this 3 years project that we have been working. It has been presented in the UNESCO Global World Conference in May, and it was very well received, and we have the support. We have two organizations currently from the UNESCO on board, and I'm sure that there is a lot to be known about this, and this is a website for the benchmarking framework if you would like to know more. And you can contact us at International Cooperation at Hamdan Mohammed Smart University, and we are happy to answer any question. Thank you very much.